Hey everybody, you know me, it's Paul with Washington Pro Carpet Cleaning. And today I got a good one for you. This particular carpet, it's got a lot of soil going on in some of the rooms. This is the master. They did have a vacuum which didn't work. And the carpets are 8 years old. There's the Mighty Eco. Look at this room. It's hard to tell, but all down the middle and then along here, you'll see the transition of the colors. It is completely soiled out. See that? That's not light from the closet. It's a heavy, heavy soil load. I did use my commercial sanitary vacuum. I posted a video before the cleaning video here. This one's not too bad. A little bit of soil down the middle. But obviously, the carpets in this situation were technically abused. I would say they're 8-year-old carpets, never, ever been cleaned. And I think he said maybe they've been vacuumed once. So the amount of dog hair that I got out when I was vacuuming and then going over it is just incredible. But you can see the transition area where maybe they had a desk or whatnot there. A lot of soil. And this is where VLM or, very low moisture carpet cleaners, OP, orbital pad carpet cleaning. I've done all different aspects. I've done truck mount steam cleaning, portable steam cleaning, and now I'm strictly VLM. And this is the second job I've run into, and only two. This is the second job in a year where I should have declined to do the job. Now, I know some of you VLMers are going to look at this and go, oh, I could do that, no problem. Yeah, wait till you watch this video go on. And like I said, under normal circumstances, over a year, I haven't had any problems. I transferred the soil, it's clean, I'm happy, I put my triangles down. I mean, you see my videos. But it happened again today, right here in this room, where you're going to witness me spend 2 hours in this one room. And, of course, you don't see all, you're seeing some of the clips. But I'm using a Zinger pad, which is a microfiber with scrubbing strips. And I'll use both sides. And you can see, at this point, I'm thinking, well, the carpets are just beyond cleaning. That's wear and tear. It's not going to come clean. But I'm here to tell you, I can get them clean. And I'm going to get them clean with VLM. But it's going to take me way too long. You can see the soil transfer on this pad. But what do I mean by, look at all that debris too that it shot up in dog hair. I mean, this job was, for me, a nightmare. Because I'm kind of OCD, I like to make sure that the job looks good. If I have to go over it a bunch of times, I will, but you could see it's definitely picking up the soil. So at this point in the game, I'm like, okay, I'll flip it over and I'll go over it again. And the problem here is the soil load, like I keep saying, is too much for this method. And I'll give you an example. If I took some mud and dirt, mixed it up into a maybe 10-gallon bucket, and not even on carpet, say I dumped it out on the tile or wood floor, and I handed you a box of Kleenex and said, clean it up. Could it be done? The answer is yes. Probably take a lot more than one box of Kleenex, but eventually, if you were willing to put in the effort, you could accomplish getting all that up with Kleenex. So in essence, that's what's happening here. Because if the next guy came in and all that crap, I dumped 10 gallons out, and he sucked it up with a shop vac, he'd be done lickety-split. And then he could go over it maybe with a couple washcloths or Kleenex in this example and finish the job, no problem. Then it would be clean and it wouldn't take very long. But what's happening here is the soil is or the VLM procedure that I'm doing is working, but there's too much soil. I'm using the Fire Dragon, and I pre-sprayed it real heavy, and yes, it's doing its job. It's suspending and bringing the dirt to the surface, because you'll see in the pad that the soil is definitely transferring. But there's too much soil. And you see where I'm working right now, I'm going slow. Most people would maybe use 1 or 2. If you use more than 3 pads in a room, it should have been steam cleaned. I'm sorry. And so at this point, if you're a VLMer and you're on, say, I'm still going over it with just the second side of the pad, but this is going to go on for quite a while. Like I said, 2 hours of extraction with pads. And some of you may look at it and go, I just go over it and get out of there. But I can't do that. The customer paid me to clean their carpets. And I have the experience of, and the luxury of knowing what truck mount steam cleaning can do, what portable steam cleaning can do the right way, and what VLM can do. And if I had my truck mount, it would be out there running in the driveway right now. I hate to say it, but it would. And the only reason that I'm not, and I unloaded my steam cleaner and everything, the only reason I did that is because I've been doing this for 27, 30 years. I don't want to steam clean anymore. So the majority of my jobs, the soil load is going to be perfect for this type of cleaning method. So I'm going to get my sprayer, and I'm going to come back. And some guys would have quit here, and then chalked it off to, oh yeah, 8 years, never been cleaned, too many miles. That's wear and tear. And that's where VLM fails. If you see the soil transferring into the pad, and you get to the end of the room and you pull the pad off and it is black, covered with soil, then oh goodness, I need to go over this one more time. So you go over it. Some people will use a 2-step method. They'll scrub it with a pad, a zinger pad, or a brush, hog's hair pad, and then come back over with an Ironman, and that's the second step, and you're getting up the dirt. 99% of the households you go into, no problem, that's going to work beautiful. And like I said, only 2. This is the second job in a full year. You could look back in my video and you'll find where I had the Oric, and I decided I would just keep spinning the room, see if there would ever be an end to the soil transfer. And there wasn't. Same thing occurred on this job. I just kept going and going and going. And I would see the soil transfer every time I put a new pad on it. So I knew it wasn't wear and tear, it was dirt, and that I needed to remove it. And the customer had never seen or experienced VLM, and So they had no idea. They thought me working in that room and coming out with pad after pad after pad, that was normal. But nobody is going to spend 2 hours in each room. So luckily the other 2 rooms were 15, 20 minutes apiece, no big deal. They were normal. But the one room was not a cleaning. And when I used to do steam cleaning when I was younger, and I got trained by Stanley Steamer years and years ago in the 80s, you know, we would call something that was too heavily soiled a restoration, not a cleaning. And that's really good advice, I think, because if, you know, when the person told me they went 8 years, never cleaned the carpets, probably vacuumed it once, I didn't do it. It's their fault, not mine. You can't expect me to come in and make it look brand new. Although, stay tuned. I think we'll be amazed here. But that, they would have to pay more. And technically, I wouldn't make them pay more for VLM because I wouldn't do it. I would have them call somebody that had a truck mount, and those guys would come out. I don't know if you guys watch The Green Rhino. Tommy, he's got truck mount and he does VLM. So that, he would be perfect for this job because he's got multiple stuff. He could come in, he could pre-scrub it with his Ork and a brush. He has a multi-wash, which is, similar to a CRB, counter-rotating brush, and even, I think he's got a 175, so, and he's got a truck mount. So what I'm saying is he could have came in and evaluated this job, give it a really good heavy pre-spray, and maybe use the multi-wash and scrub it real good, and then fire up the truck mount, and just like the box of Kleenex and the shop vac, the difference, he would have the power, and we're not talking shop vac power, we're talking real power. But with the truck mount, he could come in and he would extract about 90 to 95% of all the soil that he had suspended with his solution. Maybe even more, 90, 99% sometimes, you know. I mean, there's always something left in the carpet. But, and then if he wanted to come back, if he told the person, hey, this is not a carpet cleaning, it's a restoration, it's going to take more time, it's going to be a 3-step process, it's going to cost you, you know, to replace the carpet in this room, you're probably looking at $400 or $500. So I would say $150 to $200 to do a restoration is fair. And by that, he may come in, power scrub it, use a lot of the proper chemicals, steam clean it with really hot water, come back in and maybe OP clean it, pad extract it with the 175, rake it, groom it out, and maybe even put down some dryer pods and dry it. And possibly put a sealer on it, you know, some of that Green Guard. But then you're doing the customer the right service. Otherwise, if they don't want to pay for it, you just tell them. There's too much labor involved in doing a restoration versus carpet cleaning. And the IICRC, the Institute, I think back when I got certified years and years ago, they when VLM came out, or orbital pad cleaning, and there was always the Von Schroeder, the dry powder, stuff like that when I was around, but they would refer to those guys as like an interim cleaning, you know, maintenance cleaning. So in between steam cleaning. And we would go out and we would do big commercial jobs. We would steam clean them. And then sometimes we wouldn't see the facility for 2 years because somebody would maintain it with the VLM process. And that means it's vacuumed regularly. It's cleaned probably every 6 months. You can do that. You can get away with that. Like my house. I mean, we wear our shoes in the house. We have dogs and mud, but we vacuum every day with a Kirby vacuum. And then I'll clean it with the Auric Orbiter, the carpets, just encapsulation, or use the Green Dragon. And it comes perfectly clean every time. So that's the difference between a normal maintenance job and one like this. 8 years, we never had it cleaned. We got dogs. There's dog hair. It smells really foul in here. And it's probably been vacuumed once. I think the vacuum they had was borrowed and said it didn't work. So, and the reason it didn't work is because the first time they tried to go over it, they sucked up so much dog hair and crap, they probably broke that vacuum. I'm not kidding you. So there's limitations to everything. There's even limitations to a truck mount. Believe me. Those of you that are carpet cleaners that have been in some homes, would know. I mean, I've been in some rat nasty, where you almost need an oxygen tank to go in and breathe. There's so much urine, feces, and dog poop, and everything on the carpet. They spilt everything you could possibly imagine, and they waited, 10 years, and they think you're the miracle guy and you're going to come in and clean it. At that point, it's beyond even a truck mount, and you just let them know, hey, I don't even think, this is definitely not a cleaning. This is beyond a restoration. It's a replacement. And you be honest with them. You tell them. I mean, carpet's not meant to last forever. Look at that pad. The soil load came all the way through to the other side, so I couldn't use the backside on that pad. So keep in mind, we're at one full zinger, and those zinger pads have about a 1/2 inch sponge in between them. So I did both sides already in this room with that, and then I used the Iron Man, and this is the next Iron Man, and here I'm going to use both sides of it. So here we go. Now we're at 1, 2, 3, 4 pads, and I'm still seeing soil transfer, so I'm not going to stop. I'm going to pre-spray it again. The reason I'm pre-spraying it is it's starting to dry out. I don't want to do any damage to the carpet, any more damage than could be done. I'm going to kind of just hit these areas again. I'm using the Fire Dragon. And I'm going to let it sit for a minute, and I'm going to get another pad, and I'm going to go over it. And that's the thing. If you, 2 pads, more than 2 pads, and you're beyond a regular cleaning. And like I said, the IICRC, the Institute, you could take courses online if you're new. It's pretty simple. It's a good... I got certified, and I never felt the need to recertify. Once you get on-the-job training, plus you already have the general knowledge. And I went from being a helper on a Stanley steamer truck when I was young to starting my own company and having multi-van operation, then downsizing to portables. But, look, there's 1, 2, that was the second one, the third one, fourth one, fifth one, both sides, okay? And you could see the center of the pads are starting to lighten up a little bit, where the Malish brush is not as heavy pushing down. And by the Malish brush, that's the pad driver, I guess I should say. It uses those little sharp, prickly, or whatever you want to call them, brushes to hold the pads on. So let's go after it again. And yes, it can be done. It will be done. I started it. I don't have a truck mount in the driveway. I unloaded my portable beast. I don't have that in my van. And I don't even have my shop vac out there anymore. So I'm forced to either do the client a disservice because they paid me to clean the carpets. And I could look at it from different standpoints and say, well, you know, I didn't do this. You did it. I've already gone over it with 4 or 5 pads. It is what it is. You know, put some dirty triangles on it and leave. But I don't know about you. That's just not me. And I was getting really frustrated because this was happening again. And this was only the second time in a year, so I keep stressing that. But some of you know, when you're doing something and your intentions are good, and if you look at my past few videos, I'm excited. The carpets are coming out brand new. I'm picking up more clients that are saying, yeah, go ahead, put me next year on your calendar in advance. So I'm building up my calendar for the next year so that I don't have to worry about incoming jobs or work. And then you get out here to a home like this, and again, this one, I had to come up the dirty pathway, clean the wheels off again. I haven't been able to remedy that yet, but I got a lot of good ideas in my last video before I could bring it in the house. And then also, it's funny, when I was coming in with the Oreck, nobody ever questioned me. As soon as I come in with a professional looking machine, I mean, 1.5 horsepower motor, the big pads, weighs 100 pounds. It seems that I'm getting all these questions, and what comes to their mind is the first thing when they start asking me questions, I know they're going to ask me questions when they say, is that a floor buffer? And every time I've used this and run into someone with a lot of questions that I had to explain the VLM process to, those were the words that came out of their mouth. So they must have seen somebody either buff hardwood, tile, or I don't know, maybe they work in a warehouse, but is that a floor buffer? Because quite honestly, a lot of people when you say carpet cleaning, all they want is their carpets clean. They don't know, they're not familiar with the different types of equipment. So I've had to explain. I had to explain to this person, and went through telling them how it works, telling that I've only been doing it now for about a year straight. I was always a steam cleaner. I'm sold. I do my house this way. So I'm backing the method. I love the method. Don't get me wrong here. So there's no way I could sell myself short and not just keep going over this. I mean, at this point in the game with, what am I at, 5 pads? I mean, at this point in the game, I believe it's a concrete subfloor, and I think I'm just going to keep spinning until I hit concrete. I mean, I got to get these sunbees clean. So, and you can already see, though, now, I think, what is this, pad 6? It's at a presentable level where you could actually probably stop. But once I got to this point, I was like, you know what? And the same thing happened when I was doing, I don't know, it's probably been 8 months, maybe, I'm not sure when it happened with the Oreck. And I just couldn't get a clean pad to come up off the bottom of the Oreck. So it became a challenge to me. But look at this. If this is what's happening, let me show you the pad. If this is pad number 6 and it's that filthy, there's a problem here. And it's called excessive soil load. And back to the box of Kleenex. Even though these pads are very absorbent, and yes, they're working. They're picking up the soil. They're doing their job. but they can't handle the soil load. There's too much soil for the pad. And that's cool. That's okay. That's reality. So, yes, there's a limitation. And you can overcome the limitations, just like in anything. And it's just going to mean a lot more work and a lot more pads. And if you only carry 5 or 6 pads on your truck or a dozen pads, you know, and I was thinking about that myself when I was on the job. I'm like, you know, if it was me and the soil kept coming and coming and coming, I would fill up the bucket and I would rinse them out, or I would use a sink, a utility sink, and rinse them clean, wring them dry, and then go over it again and again, you know, with a somewhat clean pad, until I knew that I had gotten the majority of the soil out. And this part right here, surprisingly, you can see how it's the transition. It looks like wear. Just stay with me. You know, we're getting the black pads, so it's just unloading the soil that's there. It's not wear. It's just the pads. Probably I could have used one pad and did one row, flipped it over, redid that row, then got another pad, you know, maybe instead of going over it, trying to get it all uniform with one pad, then come back and do another pad. I'm not sure. I'm open to some ideas, but don't come at me with, oh, you know, I do VLM and I would have done this. I would have pre-shampooed it with a brush. Then I would have absorbed it and it would have came out. No, because without sucking the dirt out of there or the soil load out of there, your brush is going to loosen it up, like I said, and put it in suspension, but you're back to the box of Kleenex. Now you've got to extract it, and you're going to use multiple pads. Or you can extract, I don't even think at this point, if you're in VLM and you spray it really, really heavy and agitate with brushes and came in with a shop vac and vacked it out and then went over it, I think you would still have quite a heavy soil load, because with the steam cleaning equipment, you're actually immediately putting, you know, 3, 4, 5, 800 PSI water pressure, and then sucking it right up with the vacuum, so you're able to go back and forth and pull up the majority of the soil. With a shop vac, I think you would be just pulling up the moisture. You'd obviously be pulling up some dirt, and it would take a lot less pads, so that could be an option. But here we go again, and if this had happened a lot, trust me, I would be loading my portable beast pack onto my truck, or I'd be investing in a truck mount again. But look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's 6 pads. So now I'm going to try, I think this is a different pad. I think it's the Polar. Yeah, it is. This is the Polar pad. I'm thinking, well, the other pads are doing great. The Polar pad's pure white as snow, pretty absorbent. Let's check it out. Holy smokes. Look how much more soil. What is that, 6, 7 pads? But look how much better it's starting to look. I'm getting the soil out. So I'm not going to stop there. I've got plenty more pads on the van if I need them. So we're going to go over it again with the other side of the Polar pad. And it's not one particular pad that's working better than the other, because they're all absorbing and transferring the soil into the pads. it's what's working better, and the reason this one looks like it's working better is because it's not having to transfer it as much soil because we've already extracted a large portion of it. So think of it as being onto Kleenex box number 200. And even towards the end of this, I mean, I get it to where I'm satisfied, and I think the customer was very satisfied. They didn't even know I was having these issues. They did notice, though, the speed that I did the other 2 rooms in, which was kind of funny. Because I didn't even think about that and how many pads I used versus this room. So I had to explain to them basically what was going on. But it's definitely lightening up, definitely pulling up the soil. And a lot of you guys are like, okay, Paul, shut up. We get it. Should have had a truck mount. But it's such a controversial subject for people that have never done steam cleaning, and this is all they do. And, you know, they don't like to hear that there's limitations to what they can do, or that, you know, you're an interim cleaner, it should be steam cleaned, and even that's not the case. The Institute should change the way they look at it, because it's all based on how you take care of it, you know? Like I said about my own home, if you vacuum daily, you could wear shoes and have dogs. It's not going to destroy your carpets. I mean, the carpets will last a lot longer if you didn't have dogs and you didn't wear shoes. But I've never, over my lifetime, not even in my parents' home, my home, all the homes I've owned, I think we've always just vacuumed, you know, a minimum every other day, and maintain the carpets. If something spilled, I know we always blotted it up and put a little cleaner on there. So there's something to be said for that. And I'll go back to this job where I asked them, and they said the carpet's 8 years old, it's never been cleaned, and it may have only been vacuumed once. So, I mean, there's a reason that it's taking me so long. And it's punishment for I'm being punished because I should have known better. I should have done the other 2 rooms and recommended that they have this one professionally steam cleaned, you know, and give them the option if they want to have a steam cleaner come out and do all 3 rooms. That's fine with me too. But that this particular room is beyond cleaning. It needs a restoration. It's like going to a doctor and you need bypass surgery, and the doctor knows it. You know, if you don't get it done, you're going to have some serious problems. It's the heart's failing or whatever. It's beyond an aspirin. And so instead of recommending the heart surgery or explaining it to you, he gives you an aspirin and says call him in the morning. That, you know, it's doing you a disservice. And look at that. It's still both sides. Both sides. I'm not making this up. I'm sure someone else has seen this. And like I said, I've only seen it twice in a year. It's so frustrating. Look at that. That's 2, 4, 6, 7 pads, 6 of them both sides. One of them, the first Ironman, it soaked all the way through, so I technically say that it went through there. But look at that. Do you see that? That right there is a major transformation. So it is doable. I could have got those results in 15 minutes with a truck mount instead of 2 hours with VLM and 7 or 8 pads, whatever it was. Then these other rooms, I could have went over them probably just as many times, but I only used a pad. They weren't as bad, so I did both sides of a Zinger here, and then the other room, both sides of an Ironman. And you can see they came out nice. Once they dry, everything will be uniform. This house is being rented. Take a peek at this one more time. Look at that transformation. This one came out okay as well. All right, guys, sorry about the big rant, but there are limitations, and I was so frustrated today, again, being that this is the second time it happened. There's all the proof, the pads, and then those are the other ones. I used both sides on the other two rooms. I got to get to my next job. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.